Marksville Tigers with a top 10 seed in Division III non-select, and they'll get a home playoff game this Friday against the 24th seeded Patterson Lumberjacks. And we're going to talk to the head coach of the Marksville Tigers, Josh Harper. And Coach Harper, appreciate you spending some time with us to preview this game. You know, one thing that stood out to me about y'all's season so far was really a tough schedule. Playing teams that between Church Point, Gina, Bunkie, schools like that ended up with other teams that ended up as top 10 seeds.
Yeah, it was something that, we kind of, you make the schedule every 2 years, and we wanted to, have a non-district schedule to prepare us for such a tough district. You play Iota, play Church Point, then you had Oakdale mixed in there, and then of course, your rival Vols, which, all those guys were playoff teams, all those guys made runs. And then of course you get in the district, which we were hoping that the non-district schedule prepared us for what was to come. Last year, Gina semifinal team, Bunkie semifinal team. So we knew we had to do non-district to kind of get our boys ready for the district schedule that we had. It's always a tough district, one of the tougher districts, in the state and 3A. And, we think that, what we did this year, what we accomplished this year was we had a foresight into the season that we thought we could be a really good team this year, with certain components of it, and just had to, play well. And I thought the kids, 5-5 the last 2 years, with 5-6 counting the playoffs, and came in this year. And I knew we had the guys, and we had some special guys in certain positions that we could make a good run this year. And of course, 8-2 kind of turned it around in year 3 and get to host a playoff game, and hopefully, God willing, that we get to, make a little run the playoffs this year.
Talk about some of those guys. I know you got a new receiver in Armani Benjamin coming over and joining the team, but tell us a little bit about some of those other impact players on both sides of the ball that have gotten you this 8-2 record.
Last couple of years we were young, mostly a majority of freshmen, sophomores, and those guys are now juniors. And you have, of course, Devin Bam Lavallee, quarterback, who started before I was here as an 8th grader. 9th grade year, he gets hurt, doesn't play. And so 10th grade year was his real first full year of starting. And you could see as that year went how he matured and how he started reading the offense and doing what we needed to do on him. And then, of course, coming into his junior year, we knew he was going to kind of be the focal point of our offense, the guy that we're going to depend on, that we're going to lean on. And he did a great job this year of carrying this team offensively on his back with the help of, Jaden Price. That's a guy that's been starting since he's a freshman receiver. And then you add Armani Benjamin to it, another weapon out there at receiver. And it just allowed it to open up for both of them. I think, going through the stats, they about 4 catches apart. Armani has 11 or 12 touchdowns. Price has 8, 9, something like that touchdowns. Both of them have almost 700 yards receiving. And then, it allowed it to open things up. That was what the plus of bringing Armani in, which really helped Jaden, because Jaden was that one receiver coming back that, he was our guy. And then you added another receiver to the other side of the field. So now you can't focus on one. You have to worry about the 2. And then, Devin Bam Lavallee did a great job of distributing the ball to those 2 guys. I think he finished the regular season, Bam, with 1,700 passing yards and 11 or 1,200 rushing yards with 37 touchdowns. So he's the guy that makes his offense go. He has the weapons to help him out in the passing game. So it's been a great year offensively for us. And then turnover to the defense side of the ball. Our linebackers, all that were young, but we kind of put a lot on our 2 defensive ends, Jace Warren and Travis Palmer. Jace Warren was the first district all district player last year at defensive end. Travis Palmer comes in this year and solidifies that other side of our end. And I think he finished the year with right now with 6 sacks and 60 plus tackles. And Jace has, we kind of put Jace on the strong side. He's kind of that fundamental guy that, takes on pullers, seals the edge, does that, does a great job of not getting reached. And Travis does a good job of just being more of an athlete on that weak side end and just let him play. And of course, you look at the defensive backfield, and it's all those guys I just named. We have Price and Armani at cornerback, and we have Bam Lavallee as our free safety. So it kind of helps the offense on that back end for passing teams and doing what we need to do to shut down some of their receivers, and then just let those two defensive ends, just play ball and get to the quarterback.
Teams are scoring under 20 points a game against y'all this season, and in 7 of your 8 wins, you're able to hold teams below that, and a lot of single digits, a shutout in there as well in week 9. Patterson, on the other hand, similar to Marksville, they've had some tough games on their schedule. They played against 2 dome teams from 24 in Catholic New Iberia, who won in the select bracket, and St. James, who's the runner-up the past 2 years. So you're bringing in a defense that's had some good showings, and then you mentioned also your offense has been consistently productive with the talent that you have in the skill positions. What stands out to you about this matchup this week, about how your potent offense goes against a Lumberjack defense that's given up some points, and then also a strong defensive unit that you'll get to have defend your home field on Friday?
Yeah, when we watch them, you can tell how athletic Patterson is. You can look at, they have a big receiver. I want to say on film it's hard to tell, but I got to say he's every bit of 6'3", 6'4", that they try to feed the ball to. And, it kind of what they do offensively kind of feeds into what we do defensively, that they a lot of 10 personnel, a lot of doubles, a lot of 3x1, some empty. They run the ball a little bit, but they're more, their offense kind of goes on their passing game and their quarterback. And, hopefully that our ends, and we've been kind of stressing that this week in practice, that our cornerbacks, play how you've been playing all year. We're going to throw in some zone, some man, different things like that, and let our cornerbacks play. We're athletic enough. I think we can match them up well on that end, and then let our defensive ends do what they've kind of been doing all year. And that's what we're hoping plays out. Then you go to the offense side of the ball. We're going to, we have a lot of passing yards, but if you kind of watch us on film, we try to establish a lot based off the run. We want to establish a run, and then we let our passing game feed off of that. And I think we can do that. They're going to be tough up front. They got some athletic guys on their linebacker. They got some good defensive line players, and they kind of play a little kind of, I'm not going to say it's exotic, but they kind of show you a lot of fronts. So we've been stressing, of course, O-line, you've coached before, that O-line, we've been kind of throwing all kind of stuff at them to get them prepared for what they're going to see, because it's not a traditional, 31 front or 13 front. They'll press inside. They'll have, guys in different spots, and they'll throw a lot of things at you defensively. They'll send those linebackers. So we have to be prepared, and they coming off a huge win on week 10 against Donaldsonville, which, at first round of the playoffs, and that's what we tell the guys, like, it's 0-0. Everybody has a new life. They want to come in and they're excited to be in, and all teams are. And I always say to them, which the last 2 years we've lost in the first round. And I always say that first round game is usually one of your toughest, because everybody's coming in with a new season. It's 0-0 now. That regular season is gone. You can pat yourself on the back for what you did. And those 8-2 teams, 9-1 teams, 10-0 teams. But then you get these guys coming in with some life, coming off of a big emotional win against Donaldsonville, which probably nobody gave them any whatsoever of beating Donaldsonville. And then they had a good game against them, and they're going to come over here ready to play, and it's playoff time. So you got to strap it up, and you go into phase 3 and get ready to go.
So do you like that a matchup like the Catskin game in week 10, to where you face off with another top 10 seed, that caliber team, to look, win or lose, this is exactly the kind of caliber football that we're going to see once we start the postseason?
I do. It gives you that week 10, and especially this year, besides the other years, this year we both win at 8-1. So you had a playoff atmosphere. You had fans everywhere. The stands were full. The tracks were full. They couldn't see it. And it gives you a little taste of what it's going to be like moving forward. So I enjoy having the Catskin week 10. Me and Coach Hillman talk about it all the time. We're going to have a new district next year. We lose 2 teams. We got a new team coming in Grant, as far as first proposal. And, we want to keep that game week 10. That's kind of the matchup you want to see going in to the playoffs, to try to prepare your team of what it's going to be like. We talked about it this week, just what you said. This is what you're going to get, no matter the seeding, no matter what team you're playing. This is what you're going to get week in and week out in this playoff run that we hope we can make.
And talking about just where you're at with your program. I believe this is your third year as the head coach, and it's kind of been that steady progression of improvement to where, getting, going from 5-5, building what you want, setting the standard, and now sitting here at 8-2, a top 10 seed, get to host a playoff game and a great opportunity to keep going in this tournament, move to the regional round and beyond. Just kind of sum up where you're at with Marksville football, the program that you've built here the past few years, and where do you think y'all are? Is this after this many years, is this where you thought you would be, where you wanted to be? And how's the program looking, beyond this year as well?
Anytime you come into a program, I was blessed to go to Sacred Heart for 8 years and kind of go in there, and they had gone through 6 coaches in 7 years when I got there. And I had the opportunity, first head coaching job, to learn from my mistakes and to learn for things I did right, I did wrong, of building that program back to some sustainability and consistency. And we had a quarterfinal run there. We had some 8-2 seasons, 7-3 seasons. But first couple of years is what, 2-8 my first year there. Then I think we were 5-5, and then we went on to 7-3, then a couple 8-2 seasons after that with a quarterfinal run. So when I came back to Marksville, I kind of used that knowledge that I had there and what I did at Sacred Heart and brought it over here. The great thing is, come back to Marksville, it's my home. Played here, knew the kids, knew their parents, knew their families. And so it wasn't necessarily they had to buy into who I was and learn from me. I already knew who they were. And we had the opportunity of playing Marksville my last 2 years at Sacred Heart. So I kind of had an idea of the roster build, where these kids were, grades they were in, and what we could do. And I always say this, it takes any coach 3 to 4 years to kind of establish what they want to do in a program. And of course, we're going to year 3 now. We're 8-2, and junior high is coming up. Got a good group of kids coming up. Got a good group of sophomores and freshmen coming up. And my team is majority juniors this year, so they got to learn and understand what we want, what the standard is, what we want to establish at Marksville, and try to have some sustainability moving forward. Coming in, they had been off of two rough seasons. I think it was a 1-9 year and maybe a 2-8 or 3-7 year prior to that. And so we had some work to do. And I was lucky enough to bring some of my staff with me from Sacred Heart, so they understood what we were trying to do and what we were trying to build and establish in a program. And, we're kind of going in the direction that we thought we would be in, and want to sustain that for years to come here at Marksville.
So home game for round 1, and is that on Friday? It's Friday at 7?
Friday, 7 o'clock at Warren Douglas Memorial Stadium at home. And
expecting an electric playoff atmosphere, I'm sure.
That's what we're hoping for. We got the tailgate spots going, and got the fireworks going to be here at night, and should be some great weather. We had those couple cold days, and should be warmed up a little bit. Good night of Friday night football, and it's playoff time. Yep. It's win or go home. So we're excited for this matchup. We're excited that we get to host, and hopefully we can play a good game, a solid game, and get the win Friday.
Yeah, and Patterson, again, like we mentioned, been in the playoffs. That's something they're used to. So playoff atmosphere, nothing new for them either. Marksville Tigers host the Patterson Lumberjacks Friday night, 7 p.m. in Marksville. The winner of that game will get the winner of Winfield and Mansfield, the 8 and 25 seed matchup. So, Coach Harper, we appreciate your time previewing this game with us and recapping your regular season. Hopefully we're doing this again next week, getting ready for a regional playoff matchup.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Go Tigers.
All right. Have a good day.